Welcome to the discussion. My guest today is Eric McGrane, a growth leader for the Defense Enterprise Services sector at GDIT. Eric, thanks for taking the time to join us.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Let me set just a little bit of context for our discussion today. MilCloud, that's what we're talking about, started 2013. It feels like just like yesterday it started. Version 2 kicked in around 2019. And as of, I think, last March, when we looked into this last time, about 4,500 workloads, 89 different mission partners has been moved to MilCloud 2.0. I'm sure it's probably more now, and you'll tell us about that. And now the move from, according to the Defense Information Systems Agency, is towards software as a service. SaaS is now the next thing. And so MilCloud will continue to evolve, and we're going to get an update where we're at. So Eric, why don't you lead us off? As I said, MilCloud has really grown over the last several years. What's the latest? Give us an update.
So, inside of GDIT, we had a reorganization, and we really shaped our thought around MilCloud 2 around collaboration. Our sector with MilCloud 2.0 relies on Army, Air Force, Navy, and other sectors. So the first thing we did was reorganize in such a way so that I could communicate better with the rest of the GDIT Defense Business Unit, right? So that when I'm talking to a customer, I have those people that are inside of GDIT that our customers trust. That was a major thing that helped just internally. But really, I think the reason for the increased press lately is two things. We re-architected our cloud to a VMware solution. So when you look at DoD, 99.9% is virtualized on VMware. And so now we have a VMware IL5, soon to be IL6 cloud. And so it makes those migrations easier, and it's a very robust, hardy, good cloud. The second is the announcement to broker AWS services as well, right? We've all seen what's been going on in the news to get with JEDI and now JWCC. And so the demand for off-premise cloud is real, and it's there. And so from a contract perspective, having that option has brought a lot of other customers with interest for both on-prem and off-prem.
Let me start with that first piece, which is the idea of re-architected to VMware. What does that actually mean? So if I'm a DoD customer and you tell me, oh, we've re-architected to use VMware's cloud and virtualization, why do I care?
So our first architecture, if you will, was a KVM architecture.
You've already lost me once you said KVM. So anyways, but go ahead.
Okay. So the way that I would answer for a customer is VMware is native and known to what your current status is. So you're going from an on-prem VMware to cloud, and so the refactoring of applications, the migrations, all of the you're never going to get rid of all the complexities for going to cloud. But by having a VMware native architecture, we've removed a ton of those complexities to make it much easier to move to the cloud now.
That's the key. I think that's really important when you talk about the complexity, because I think everyone thinks moving to the cloud, well, I don't have my legacy apps aren't ready, or oh, now this application's been in a mainframe or been on some client server approach for 20 years. Now you want me to move it where, and is it ready to move it, and what's the lift, and can I just leave it where it's at? So walk me through a little bit about understanding when someone has to move, maybe an example, an anecdote, and putting you on the spot here a little bit, where a customer went from on-prem or their current setup to MilCloud 2. How easy was it? Matter of weeks, days, months?
So everybody's situation is different. I think one of the examples we use frequently was DCMA. Agency had to close down a data center in 90 days, and we were able to move all their workloads, close that data center, and have it done in 90 days, right? It was a hard work on both sides. It was a true partnership. So that was done. Another example I use is we have a very large Army customer. And I think that this example highlights the benefit of both MilCloud 2.0, the cloud, and MilCloud 2.0, the contract. This particular Army user has about 300 applications, and they said, we've got some stuff that we want on-prem. It's got personally identifiable information, it's got health information, it's got logistics data. We want that on-prem. That's how we see it. But we have about 100 other applications that are child and youth services base sign-up. We could put that into AWS, right? And so for that particular customer, when you rationalize where the security levels are and what they want public and what they want with more security, we have a contract that now allows that customer to come to us for one-stop shopping.
And I think that's one of the big selling points of MilCloud over the years has been that one-stop shopping. You don't need to issue a new task order. You don't need to go through the contract. You can just, we'll acronym people to death here a little bit, MIPR the money over and get it going. And I think that's also important now because you brought the IL5 and moved to IL6. Obviously, impact level 5, impact level 6, we're talking about cybersecurity. What's that going to mean for the DoD and the customers that you're serving?
So I see a real demand for IL6, right? IL5, for official use only, unclassified. I see a demand for both on-prem and off-prem. But when it gets to IL6 and SIPR, or secret cloud, if you will, there's a tremendous amount of demand there for it, and we're very excited to have that for our customers.
And I remember talking with the folks at DISA about 6 or 8 months ago. One of the big moves was the SIPRnet, getting access, I guess, for the MilCloud to SIPRnet or some sort of integration. I think if I remember correctly, it was supposed to happen in June 2021. Here we are, obviously much past June. Did it happen? Where are we at with that integration? Can you give me a sense of just the status?
So the status is we're like right at the finish line. COVID affected everything across DoD. So when you're talking about doing SIPR cloud, right, IL6, you're talking about assessments, pen tests, people coming to visit site locations, and that got jammed up with COVID. So we're past that. We still have some COVID hiccups, right, because you have teams that need to travel, but we're right at the finish line.
All right, so hopefully later this fall, maybe early winter, then that'll be available. And once that's available, what does that mean? Again, I'll ask for your customers, because you said you had a lot of demand for IL5, IL6. It means they can now do the secret type level work.
Correct.
Go ahead.
So once we have IL6, customers can start migrating, right? I see a huge demand out at US Stratcom, for example. I know MilCloud 1, that is being turned off and migrating to MilCloud 2. There's a lot of SIPR workloads there. So we see, once we have that on contract, we can start rolling those workloads into MilCloud 2.0 for hosting. And like you said, with the MIPR, the nice part about our contract is there's no waiting in line. There's no negotiating a task order, negotiating a price. It's all right there on the portal. The price is what the price is. You can do it. I mean, for the amount of selling we do, we still have customers that hit the portal and buy their cloud on their own, and it's spun up in 24 hours, right? So, that speed of the MIPR, right, the ability to just transfer money quickly has been a major selling point for the contract.
I got to admit something. I thought MilCloud 1 was turned off already.
So here's
maybe it's coming.
So it was supposed to be turned off, I believe, in 2017.
Yeah. I think we wrote a story about it that said it's going to turn off in 2017.
And so now the deadline is for it to be turned off NIPR in December of this year and SIPR in July of 22.
All right, we'll have to. It sounds like a question for DISA, not necessarily GDIT in many ways. I want to talk about the other piece of this that you mentioned, which is the connection to AWS. I imagine there's connections to other commercial clouds in the offing as well. But what is, again, when we talk about complexity, what does that mean for a user? Okay, now if I want to use AWS, I can go through MilCloud 2.0's platform, or what does it mean?
So for our customers, I mean, let's face it, it's a hybrid cloud world. Customers have some on-prem, they've got some mainframe that'll probably stay put, they've got Azure, AWS, they've got all kinds of cloud needs. And so what we are for customers is like you said earlier, that one-stop shop, right? So if a customer needs some AWS, they can get some AWS. If they want some on-prem, they can do that. Yes, we're in negotiations to add other off-premise clouds, right? So we're GDIT. We exist to support our DoD customers, right? And so whatever our DoD customer wants, we want to provide it. And by having the marketplace that we've got inside of our portal, we're not an AWS only marketplace or an Azure only marketplace. We're providing things like Oracle Database for cloud and other things that we know our customers need because we're truly agnostic and we care about what the DoD needs.
Let me try to put a finer point on it, though. Again, if I'm a DoD customer says, okay, I want to use AWS or Oracle or whomever, I go through the MilCloud 2.0 platform, I go through your effort, and what does that mean for me? We talked complexity earlier, reducing complexity. How does that reduce the complexity?
Right, so imagine you hit this portal and you've got chiclets right there. You've got on-prem or AWS, and then later there'll be other chiclets. And you click the cloud you want, and then you can just go through. The complexity is minimized by having all of the information you need at the price you need right there so that you can do it in one sitting. There's no separate negotiations. It all comes through that portal.
Which is in many ways, I mean, that's what people want, right? It's the old idea that I'm going to pay by the drink, I'm going to turn it on, like my light switch, turn off, I don't need to know where it's coming from. When I need to use it, it's got to be there. And that actually takes down the path around trends. What are some of those trends you're seeing? I highlighted some of those high level things at the beginning, but maybe dig deeper.
So from a trend perspective, right, we're seeing customers getting much smarter about cloud. We're seeing customers that have a need all of a sudden for OCONUS and OCONUS Cloud. And I think you see that when you cover the efforts and the initiatives like JADC2, right? This operating environment where there's data sharing across the numbers of different clouds. So, first from a customer smarts perspective, if you will, one of the things that customers didn't really grasp early on was the data transaction fees. That's a major selling point for on-premise cloud, right? Because we sit on the DoDN, we don't have data transaction fees. I joke that data transaction fees are kind of like when Chevy Chase plugs the lights in on National Lampoon and the meter starts spinning, right? It's this hidden cost that can get big. So we have customers that are aware of application performance and what their app is doing on those data transfers. And so they're getting smarter about what app is best for where. From an OCONUS perspective, look, it's the next thing. Tactical, edge, DDIL, having cloud out to the warfighter overseas is a big deal. And so we're starting to come up with how do we architect a networking solution around data sovereignty, right? The DoD CIO is working on that right now. And all that, to me, rolls into this JADC2 initiative, which is going to help our warfighters have data sharing, cloud, AI at the edge, and all of that.
The data transition fees, I remember early on in cloud when 2012, 2013, people did some lift and shift, and all of a sudden they got these bills, and they're saying, oh my, like what did I just get myself into? And then you saw a trend maybe 2015, 2016, even later, people started to pull back from the cloud because of that concern. And I think now, here we are 2021, pushing to 2022, there's a better understanding. Do you have, and you mentioned the hybrid world, do you think that's where why MilCloud has really gained some popularity? Because they're understanding for this workload, putting this in MilCloud makes more sense than putting it in a public cloud because of the data fees is one piece of it.
Yeah, and I think that we've all gotten smarter too. And GDIT, for instance, we can talk to a customer and say, if you do this in a public cloud and you do these things to your application, you could lower your risk of a data transaction big bill, right? So we've gotten smarter how to deal with applications and how to construct them in the cloud to lower those bills. Customers have gotten smarter. And so I think we're seeing exactly what you said. Some stuff is ideal for on-prem because of its performance or the chattiness, if you will, and other stuff is ideal for off-prem.
I also want to explore maybe a little bit about the OCONUS piece. Why do you get a sense why there's this demand for cloud from OCONUS? Is it, again, more comfortable, they're getting more comfortable with what it can do, how it works, the data fees, or is there something else that's driving it?
So I think it's more about, you have users that are in the United States that are used to a certain performance or a certain capability. And then they go overseas and that capability just went back 10 years or it's not what they want, right? So you want this kind of seamless experience, right? People talk about, customer experience. You want to be able to have what's easy for them here be easy over there. Yeah. I think you're also seeing legacy data costs and the subscriptions and the hardware refresh. I think all of those things still exist there, and there's ways to save money as well.
And when you see budgets starting to get flat, especially across DoD, or budgets being cut to a certain extent, or the OCO funding got cut, that maybe was supporting some of that overseas stuff. All of a sudden, people going, how do we do this less expensively?
Right.
And then all of a sudden the cloud comes up. Eric, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we can continue our conversation. You're listening to the discussion Innovation in Government, sponsored by Carahsoft on Federal News Network.